Hi, Gwen Fox here. We're going to be talking about shape. Now, shape is one of the 7 elements of design, and it's very important because actually we can make anything with shapes. We can make complicated paintings with shape. And shape it could be sensual, and shape can be more hard-edged. So you've got geometric shapes, and they're the squares, the rectangulars, the triangles. And then you have the softer ones, the more free-flowing ones. And these are actually just made up by the artists because they can do anything with a very soft, curvilinear line. It's always very sensual. And like squares, though, give stability to a painting. Circles represent movement. Triangles, triangles that pointed up is more spiritual and more uplifting. If they're pointing down, there's a lot of tension there. So when you know the psychological effects of just what the shapes are, and you know the psychological meaning of each color, and you know the design of where you put your design, of what that portrays, what that shows to the viewer, you've got it. You've got it because you now can portray what you want to the viewer, and they're receiving that. So now, what do shapes do for a painting? Well, they give depth. You can have lots and lots of depth in a painting by doing your shapes. But there are boring shapes. There are boring shapes, and you do not want to have a boring shape. Now, what is a boring shape? It is an enclosed square. It is an enclosed rectangular shape. It is enclosed a triangle shape. Now, the key there, the word there is enclosed, and they're equal. That's boring. Now, if you're going to have a shape, a square, then leave an edge, have it softer on one edge so that the eye can get out. If anything is enclosed, a circle or whatever, you cannot get out of that circle. Your eye cannot. And if you notice in the Oriental designs, their circles have an opening and it just goes out. It's an opening. So remember that, because you do not want boring shapes. And when you're doing boring shapes, then what happens? The viewer comes, looks at your painting, and then moves on. And you want the viewer to stay with you. And then there are different kinds of shapes. There is a positive shape and a negative shape. And let's look at this. Here is a coffee cup. It's a black coffee cup on a white surface. Now, the coffee cup itself is the positive shape. The surrounding area is the negative shape. And the little bit in between the coffee cup and the handle, that is a negative shape. Now, negative shapes are just as important as positive shapes because they support what you want to say. They supporting this coffee cup. So remember that when you look at your shapes, always look at what's around them, because what's around them is going to give definition to your positive shape. And it's fun. It's fun to know this. Now let's use some examples so that we kind of know and we feel this. So now here is Picasso's painting, The Three Musicians. It's an abstract painting in which 3 figures are simplified to an arrangement of flat shapes. The art used a variety of shapes, creating an image that resembles kind of a jigsaw puzzle, don't you think? Now, you have large, medium, and small shapes in this. Look and find all of these large shapes, easy to find. Then you've got your smaller shapes and your middle shapes. You've got flat shapes and you've got pattern shapes, which causes a delightful variety. You've got dark and you've got light valued shapes. You've got positive and you've got negative. So now there is a good example of the positive and negative shapes. Then you have outlined shapes and unlined shapes. Outlined and unlined. In this painting, Picasso put all of these shapes, and I just find it fascinating. Now here is a Hans Hofmann. Now Hans Hofmann is a very geometric painter. And guess what? He loved color. So this is a good example of geometric painting. Then there's Diebenkorn. Now, I had mentioned how difficult triangles are in a painting. They're very difficult. And Diebenkorn is the king of being able to do this, because look how successful this is. He's got triangles throughout this painting. And it is awesome. But here is, he's combined the geometric, the triangles, and then there's an organic shape there, which are the chairs. Now, one thing that I failed to mention earlier is that you can have both geometric and you can have organic shapes in one painting, but one has to be dominant. It's like anything else. They can't all be equal, because then nothing stands out. Then we have the Italian artist Morago. And Morago is really big on the large, beautiful shapes. And he makes fantastic shapes. And by the way, guys, I really had a hard time with shapes when I was doing all of this, learning shapes. So I found shapes that I liked and put them in a sketchbook. And that way, when I get to a painting and I don't know what to put there for shape, I kind of go through that and I find exactly what I want. So it makes it really, really interesting to be able to do that. And plus, it saves me a lot of time. I don't want to, spend all this time. But anyway, then we have Carol Barnes. Now, Carol is a fantastic artist of whom does these beautiful, fluid, organic shapes in her work. And I don't know, they're just, to me, I look at this painting and I want to enter it. I want to walk around and I want to feel this organic, beautiful painting. And so that is it on shapes. And I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope it's helped, because shapes are very important and they're very personal. You will find your shapes because everybody has their shapes. And one way to find your shape is to start tearing paper. Do collage, because what you're going to find is that you tend to tear the same shape all the time. And that is usually your shape. So do that, find your shape, claim it, use it in your paintings. And I love shape. I think shape is sexy and wonderful, and I hope you do too. But by the way, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do so, because we would love to have you. And I love you. Take care.